welcome to another edition of Behind the Panel. My name is Patrick Booth, Business Development Manager here at Exertis Almo for all of the Legrand brands. Joining me today is my counterpart, Darren Altman, who is our Business Development Manager for Sharp NEC. A lot of different products that they have there. So, Darren, thanks for coming in. Welcome. Appreciate you taking some time out to join me today.
No, this is great. This is great. I'm looking forward to doing one of these things. I know we've been talking about doing it for a while, so I'm glad the stars aligned and we're able to hang out and chat about some Sharp.
And it's, I mean, you bring up a great point. We talk about doing these kind of things all the time. Nobody really no reseller out there cuts a purchase order to our sales team and says, I just want one Sharp panel, or I just want one chief mount, right? We want to try and incorporate as many of the brands and get our brands working together, because it's really a big part of what we do here at EA is really try and be the value-added distributor to a lot of these customers that might not have the resources to go out to general distribution, might not have the know-how. So having someone like yourself, Darren, you've been in the industry now for quite some time. Tell me a little bit, give me a little of your background here. And
Oh, where do I begin? Where do I begin? So, started in the industry around 2006, working with some of the folks that, fortunately we're still working with today,
right.
which is great. And with, the many changes in our industry, we've gotten to work with some of those folks, and then there was a little bit of a hiatus, and now we're all back together again, which is great to reconnect. I know one of the things about our industry is how large it is, from an outsider looking in, but when you're on the inside, it's really small, or at least it feels tiny, right? So it's great to see those familiar faces. One of the nice things that I like to do when you go to trade shows, it's not only great to see the latest and greatest that all the manufacturers that have out there, but it's also to reconnect with some of those familiar faces that you don't necessarily see on a daily basis. It's one of my favorite things about just coming out and not only just learning, but getting to reconnect with the colleagues.
Yeah, the industry itself, I mean, it's I'm very similar to you. I started in 2007, so we came in very much the same time. And again, back when it was Stampede and Almo and IAVI and all the other great companies that were out there, Electrograph. I mean,
Yep, that's
talk
where I
about
started.
everything coming together, and it's really like the AVC industry in terms of distribution has really whittled it down to us. And like you said, you'll see people that you haven't seen in years. They've changed from company to company, but you get in this industry, and it's really kind of tough to get out of it, because it's tough to explain to people outside of it what it's really like. But it's very much family atmosphere. I mean, you go to Infocom.
Absolutely.
I mean, you catch up with people all the time. So, what we're going to talk about today, interactivity, especially with, when I think of interactive panels, the first thing I think of is Sharp. And I think we talked about this the other day. The AQUOS board was really kind of a game changer when those first came out. Why don't you give me a little bit of history on the Sharp?
Yeah, I mean, years ago, there wasn't, a ton of options for interactive flat panels, let alone just interactive anything. There were very few. There was that, there was always that 800-pound gorilla out there that, basically, own the market, and people would say certain things about it. They, everybody has their own opinions about every product out there. And
Right.
then I'm going to say around, let's say circa 2010 or so, Sharp came out with their AQUOS boards, which I feel was kind of a game changer. Sharp, one thing Sharp's always
Literally took the words out of my mouth. It was a huge game.
Oh yeah, one of the things that Sharp's always been great with are your large format displays. That's what they're known for.
Right.
Anything from like 40, 43 inch to, all the way up to, now being Sharp and being with the acquisition of NEC, they have up to 98 inch in the large format flat panel displays. But like I said, around 2010, they launched, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a 60 inch interactive display to kind of, make their way into that interactive display market. And I keep saying interactive display because what they did was, they basically had a 60 inch panel that was ready to go out of the box, that was touch capable.
Right.
Now, I know there were other manufacturers out there that, you can get anyone's display and then there's an overlay. So
Overlay.
anytime
Right.
there's multiple pieces, there's, potential for something not lining up properly or just not functioning right. But out of
And
the
the
box, it
time
was ready
involved
to go.
too. Back in for us, we used to have to order the displays and then send them to the company that did the overlays. And some of them
Right.
did like a fused bonded glass. And they never, I mean, the cost was crazy. So then Sharp comes with these AQUOS boards, which are, pretty similar in cost to a standard touch panel, a
Yeah.
standard touch panel. And then just,
Correct. Yeah, it was really a ready to go system out of the box. And the nice thing about Sharp from day one with their interactive panels is they've always been agnostic to software, because they really were, the interactive, that 800-pound gorilla that I was referring to, pretty much lived and breathed in the educational world.
right.
And Sharp was like, hey, let's try and get our stuff in there. And why not, right? So they came out with this AQUOS board lineup. And like I said, if I'm not mistaken, I think they started with around the 60-inch.
I think it was 60 and 70. I think they
Well,
had, right.
70
And
inch
then it came 60,
70 inch
70.
eventually evolved. I think they led with the 60-inch because
Right.
there wasn't
Right.
really many 70-inch size things in
No.
around 2010, let's say.
Yeah.
So they came out with
Well,
this. It was agnostic to software because basically they're like, we have this great interactive panel, and you in the educational world use all these great computers, whether it's desktops at the time. We don't talk much about desktops anymore, but either desktops, laptops. So whatever's on your desktop or laptop, hook it up to our flat panel, interactive flat panel, and teach your class. Get it into the schools. So that was one thing that was great. And being agnostic to software, it played nicely with quite a bit of the software is out there from a very early onset from these AQUOS boards coming out. And like everything in
right.
our world, it just evolves and evolves and evolves.
And that was right around the onset when display manufacturers started putting the expansion slots so you could stick the
Correct.
PC card in them and do all that kind of stuff as well. I mean, you brought up a big point there with the software being a huge advantage. What are some other advantages over with the interactive board versus, let's say, looking at a traditional projection whiteboard? We'll call it a whiteboard. We won't say the magic word.
Right.
Whiteboard
Right.
solution.
I like how you say that. Those words that should not be said, right? So my personal thing is, so when you have those interactive screens and projectors, which, again, they're great products. They serve their purpose out there because, like, we're friends to all of our, manufacturer partners out there.
Right.
But at that time when these things first launched, you had to worry about, maintenance on these things. Sharp came out with these flat panels that were based on 24/7 rated panels at the time. So
Right.
you didn't have to worry about changing lamps. If somebody forgot to leave it on, all of a sudden you go in to start your class the next day and the lamp works for like 10 minutes because somebody forgot to shut it down. Not only that, the projectors were usually mounted overhead. So if you
Right.
misplaced the remote or something to switch an input to put on an educational video or something, you got to find the step stool. So this basically had the same function of your quintessential, and I do this for TV for a reason, which people that are not technologically savvy as you and I are, Pat,
Yeah.
but they know
That's saying
they
a
know
lot.
how to use a remote. They know how to change an input and things like that. They can basically
Yeah.
treat it like a TV, for lack of words, and still progress with their lesson that they're doing. Because again, it came out to really just to make a dent in that educational world, K through 12, higher ed, and going further into like the higher ed stuff, you start to realize that, wow, it's not just really for the classroom. There's a lot of other applications that interactivity can be a part of. So
Yeah.
Sharp started to not only make a dent in that educational K through 12 classroom setting, but when they started evolving the AQUOS board line, like you mentioned, other sizes, more feature rich as it progressed. I think now we have 5, 8, 10, like upward 10 plus SKUs of today that just offers different feature sets and are really good for not only just the education, but corporate, um, not and just around the education world too. Wayfinding applications, digital
Right.
signage, museums, corporate, government, anything. It's really, you can, wherever interactivity you can think of, there is a place for the AQUOS board. And with the acquisition of NEC a few years ago, they had their own interactive lineup, and with the two of them together, the two great companies that came together and the technology behind them,
Right.
I think just really, has a fit for all verticals when you're looking at interactivity.
Yeah. We were talking about this, you had mentioned something, and it's a favorite piece of mine. Legrand through Chiefline has a great mount called the OB1U, which is basically an overboard. So if you have an existing old whiteboard or chalkboard that you don't use anymore, you can actually put this mount over the top of it. It's height adjustable, and you've got your display right on there. And
I've
for height adjustability for kids, you have smaller kids, you can lower it, raise it, but you don't have to go in and kind of remove that old board and have the unsightly holes and repair all that. Just kind of goes right over the top of the old,
Oh
new with the
yeah,
new.
I've had my hands involved in quite a few projects. I'm based out here in Long Island, New York, and some colleagues of mine, that I've worked with from the onset of my career within audio video. We've done some great projects with local school districts where that's exactly what they're using. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the exact amount that they are using, because they knew they wanted to upgrade their technology. They had some great funds from the state with education that come along with being in the great state of New York. And
Yep.
they didn't want to rip out the chalkboards that you and I grew up with,
Right.
They had these mounts that Legrand provides that just worked well by fitting over them. And next thing you know, we're working the project. We're demoing the AQUOS boards. Got them a demo mount, and next thing you know, we've been working on that project for quite some time now, with quite a bit of both. Some
Yeah.
majority going over the chalkboards, but there are some that are going over on mobile carts for other applications. And I know Legrand has a great lineup of those as well too.
I mean, I can't stress it enough. To anyone that watches this, I mean, I hate to sound like a commercial for what we do, but if you have the ability to have your person that cuts a purchase order, cut one purchase order to one company that can encompass 100 different brands, I mean, you're really missing the boat going around and shopping all over the place. We can stage
Absolutely. It's
all
one of
your
the
products
value
in
adds
one
that we add.
warehouse.
And
It's
to be
it really
honest,
is. It really is a differentiator.
we did stage some of that project that I was referencing, where we basically
Yeah.
brought in the mounts, brought in the AQUOS boards, and because it's such a vast school district here locally, they just don't have the capability of storing these things. And Exertis Almo is, we're distribution. That's what we do. We
It's what
help
we
our
do.
customers
Yeah.
out by getting them that. And we literally broke it down by school to school. Like, okay, this school is going to need 25 of them, and they needed 10 carts and 15 mounts for the boards. And that's what we did. And they palletized them, shrink wrapped them, and sent them out. It was really a nice project for all of our partners,
Yeah.
and worked out well, and just showed the value add of Exertis as well.
Anything that you think of, any new technologies, anything coming down the pike that you are excited about, or any changes coming up with Sharp that we should be aware of?
So Sharp, just like our industry, is forever evolving, right? And it's one of the great things about our industry. It's one of the great things about technology in general. So specifically with these interactive panels, and like I said from the onset, Sharp always had this agnostic, and that agnostic is still holding through. And that's evolving as well as the AQUOS board. So like now you're going to see a lot of USB-C incorporated onto these interactive boards that we offer through Sharp, where the nice thing is, at one point it all started off. You needed a cable for video, you needed a USB cable for the interactivity and things along those
Right.
lines. Now it's one cable, which makes everything super easy. And for those people that come in to do, let's say there's a large 86 inch at the main part of the room, you have Sharp has a multitude of other panels that can work in conjunction with them for the really large rooms that can mirror image. We do a lot of that. I've seen where you have a large interactive board up front, and then everybody for the large rooms, you can put some like 75-inch panels on the side where everybody can see and do that. And I know Legrand makes great products across the board that works well with all of that.
Yeah.
But
USB-C cables to go all day long.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's what's great. And, when the presenters come in and out, like, I don't know about you, but I've given some presentations. I know you've given some presentations. And then all of a sudden you go up there with your laptop, and then all of a sudden you get that battery warning. It's one of the advantages now with the evolved technology. USB-C carries, not only does it carry the video and interactivity, but you can also charge your laptop as well on some of them as well, too. So you never have to worry about that.
I knew USB-C was a game changer when Apple finally decided to ditch the horrible Lightning cable and go to USB-C for their new AirPods, and for the last couple iPhones have had it as well, which is
absolutely,
again, it's a game changer. It really is.
Absolutely.
Something as silly as a cable is a game changer, but that's the way the industry works sometimes.
And the entire suite of products, the AQUOS board lineup from Sharp has just, like I said, greatly evolved. It started with one, went to two as the sizes changed, from single touch to multi-touch. I think our our entry level 4WB series, which is really designed to go after the K through 12 market, is multi-touch, where upwards of 20 points of touch. And these are things that you never even thought of 10, 15 years ago when these things first came out.
Right.
And now you have enterprise ones with their, the PNL2A series, which gives you the versatility of super feature rich. Plus, if you want to use it in a different application, such as wayfinding, you can put it in portrait mode. There's not a lot that do that with the interactivity. So it's really great to see how they've progressed, along with keeping that agnostic style for the software, because yes, schools and other corporate facilities use similar softwares, but none of them are exactly the same.
And I wish most companies did that. I wish most companies would not make software proprietary and allow third-party software in there, because it makes for a much better ecosphere when you're trying to provide a total solution. So
and everybody, everybody handles change differently, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing something that you've been doing for X amount of years and working with this software for X amount of years, and all of a sudden we're like, hey, we're going to upgrade this to this, and all of a sudden people, it's almost like they're walking on marbles, and all you did was give them, better equipment. But in this particular circumstance, if you just upgrade the board, Sharp just, the change isn't there. If anything, it works better because of how the, like you mentioned earlier, like in-glass technology gives you truly a true pen on paper feel, which is from doing many demos of interactivity, in front of the schools and corporate facilities and things like that. One thing that everybody said was like, if I can just feel like I'm writing on a piece of paper and write on the board. And it is so true today with the technology and how it's evolved.
Yeah. Crazy where it's come from, crazy where it's going.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing where else it's going. I mean, that's the exciting thing about our world.
Who knows, man? Everything explodes. Like, it seems like stuff that was just dreamt of years ago is now just like
things we used to see in movies. Those movies where they're, we watch those movies where it's set back in past, and now they say, in the future, 20, 30 years, depending upon the movie you watch, we're at those years.
I'm just waiting for real hoverboards.
Like I was just gonna say. I mean, we're not flying cars or skating, using hoverboards or anything. But 1.21 gigawatts is a reality these days.
A lot of power. I mean, that once you get to 88 miles an hour, and then you get those 1.21 gigawatts.
That's right.
So I ask everyone this question when they come on the show. There's no prejudice here, but my goal with Behind the Panel is at some point to have Nature Boy Ric Flair as a guest on here. So
Woo!
I don't know if you might be related to Nature Boy or have like a cousin who would be his promotional manager that could reach out and do something. But it's a question I ask everybody. Can you get me to the Nature Boy? You at least gave me a woo, which
listen, just like you, I grew up in the wrestling world. My grandfather got me into it, and just as that's evolved, I've evolved too with it. But
you're saying no, you
if
don't.
I don't have a line, but I will ask you to call me at least within the top 5 of your list of calling if you do get a line on that.
If we ever get the Nature Boy on. All right, we're gonna make it a campaign for
Absolutely.
25. Nature Boy in 25.
Let's do it.
Darren, man, can't thank you enough for carving some time out. Learned a lot.
Hey,
I appreciate everything.
same here.
I don't know if we poop wrong way. I don't know if we picked up my dog snoring here. She's been out the whole time, but those microphones are tough, so who knows if they filtered her out. But
I didn't
again, Darren, thank you
catch
very
any
much.
snoring, but I appreciate it, Pat. This was fun. I look forward to doing some more in the future.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Same here. Thanks.
See you next time behind the panel.